Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to walk through one of the most exciting paths you can take, building a business from the ground up. We're going to break down the whole process step by step, from that initial spark of an idea all the way to running a real live operation. So you have it, that big idea, the one that, keeps you up at night. It feels brilliant, it feels important, but let's be honest, the gap between a great idea and an actual business can feel massive. What are the practical steps you need to take, like right now? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. We've boiled this journey down into 5 really critical stages. We'll start with how to get the money. Then we'll move on to building your online presence. After that, we'll talk about getting those all-important first customers. Then we're going to look at a hidden danger that trips up so many growing companies. And finally, we'll show you how to become a master of your finances to make sure you're built to last. Okay, first things first, you need money. Every great idea needs some fuel in the tank to get off the ground. But where does that initial cash actually come from? Let's dive into the 2 fundamental ways you can finance your vision. So, broadly speaking, you've got 2 main roads to choose from. Over on the left, there's debt financing. This is what you probably think of first. A bank loan, maybe borrowing from family. You get the cash and you promise to pay it back, plus interest. On the right, we've got equity financing. This is totally different. Here, you're selling a piece of your company, shares, to an investor in exchange for their money. And this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see the trade-offs. With debt, you keep 100% control of your company and all the profits, but you're on the hook to pay back that loan no matter what happens. With equity, the investor is sharing that risk with you. If the business goes under, you don't owe them a dime. But the price you pay for that safety net is a piece of your ownership, a slice of your future profits, and, someone else getting a say in how you run things. And here's the thing you really gotta remember. While getting equity from investors on shows like Shark Tank gets all the glamour and attention, the reality for most entrepreneurs just starting out, especially if you're, say, opening a local shop or service, is that debt financing is usually the most realistic and sometimes the only path forward. All right, so you've managed to secure some funding. Awesome. Now you need a place to actually do business. And in today's world, that means building your digital home. Your website isn't just some online brochure. It's your 24/7 storefront, and it needs to be built on a solid foundation. Look, before you even think about colors and fonts and cool pictures, you have to plan. What is the main goal of this website? Who exactly are you trying to talk to? And what information do they actually need from you? Answering these questions first lets you build a sitemap. That's basically the blueprint of your site, and wireframes that lay out where everything goes. This is the strategic work you have to do before you open a tool like Squarespace or WordPress. It's what makes sure your digital home is actually functional, not just pretty. And this visual is a great way to think about how people actually find their way around that home. You've got your main structural navigation, that's your menu, the main sections. Then you have associative links, which connect related stuff, like a "you might also like this" section. And finally, you have utility links for the essentials, like contact us or login. A really good website nails all 3. Okay, so you've got money in the bank and a beautiful new website. But a store with no customers is really just an expensive hobby. Now comes the real challenge. How do you get people to walk through that digital door? This might be one of the single most important lessons in marketing ever. It is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, well, I don't really use TikTok, so my customers probably don't either, or I think this ad is super clever, so it must work. Wrong. The data, the analytics might tell a completely different story. You have to get out of your own head and get into your customers. So what's one of the most powerful ways to do that? Simple. Let your customers do the talking for you. This is called user-generated content, or UGC. It's basically authentic proof from real people that your product is worth buying. A slick, polished ad is one thing, but a real photo from a happy customer, that's just way more convincing because it feels real and trustworthy. And the best part is, you don't have to just sit around and hope it happens. You can actively encourage it. You can create a unique hashtag for your brand, run a contest, maybe feature the best customer photos on your own Instagram feed. Or you can do something as simple as asking for a review in your follow-up emails. Just make it easy and rewarding for people to share. Okay, so let's imagine things are going great. You're getting customers, sales are climbing, everything's looking up. This is exactly when a really dangerous and often invisible threat can pop up, one that can sink even the most promising businesses. It's the cash flow crisis. Now take a look at this company's profit and loss statement. On the surface, everything looks fantastic, right? I mean, net profit is just soaring, going from $3,500 to $35,000 in just 5 months. By all appearances, this business is an absolute home run. But look a little closer. Look at their cash. In that exact same period, their actual cash in the bank went from a healthy 25 grand all the way down to a terrifying negative $60,000. How is that even possible? It's because profit is not the same thing as cash. You can make a sale and record a profit on paper today, but if your customer doesn't actually pay you for 90 days, you don't have the cash to pay your own bills tomorrow. This is the trap. And that brings us to a really hard truth. Managing cash, well, it's not something you can just hand off to your bookkeeper and forget about. It is not a secondary task. For small business, it is the #1 job of the person in charge. If the company runs out of cash, the buck stops right at the top. Period. So, how do you avoid becoming one of those sad statistics? You do it by proactively becoming a master of cash management. Let's take a look at the key skills you absolutely need to develop. I want you to think of these 6 skills as your financial survival kit. They cover everything from understanding how long it takes for a dollar you spend to come back into your bank account, all the way to being an expense hawk who questions every single dollar going out the door. Mastering these is the antidote to that cash flow crisis we just saw. And it all starts with this first one, which is by far the most important. Being a cash management champion means you, the founder, the CEO, you own it personally. You think about it all the time, you build reports to track it, and you make sure your whole team understands how critical it is. It's not the glamorous part of being an entrepreneur, but it is absolutely essential. This quote from a real CEO just says it all. Austin King's company was growing like crazy, their profit statements looked amazing, but that very growth was sucking up all their cash. It's a classic, perfect example of how you can literally grow yourself right out of business if you aren't watching the cash in the bank. So as we wrap things up here, the ultimate lesson is this. A great idea gets you to the starting line. A killer website gives you a place to sell, and winning customers brings in revenue. But mastering the flow of cash, the actual physical money moving in and out of your bank account, that's what lets you survive and ultimately thrive. We've walked through the whole journey from that first dollar funding to mastering your finances. So the real question for you now is, where are you on this map? Which of these stages feels like a strength for you, and which one is the next big mountain you need to get ready to climb? Thanks so much for joining me.